The text message wasn't meant for him. Ethan Cole had been halfway through a midnight board memo when the notification buzzed across his phone. The message was short, raw, and desperate. "Please, we just need one night inside. The kids are freezing." He almost ignored it. Wrong number, probably. But something made him pause. The sender's name. Clara Evans. For a moment, the room seemed to still. His heartbeat thudded in his ears as he stared at the glowing screen, rereading the name that had haunted him for 6 long years. Clara, the one woman he'd never stopped searching for, the one who'd vanished without a word or trace. He had built empires to forget her. It hadn't worked. Now she was asking for help, and she was talking about kids. Within minutes, he was in his car, cutting through Boston's icy streets. The GPS pin from the text led him to a quiet park on the north side. An old place with cracked benches, bare trees, and a single flickering street lamp. The storm had been brutal that week. Snow crusted over the sidewalks, and the night air burned like glass. He almost didn't see her at first. Then his headlights caught a shape on the far bench. A woman huddled under a thin blanket, 2 small figures pressed against her sides. He killed the engine and stepped into the cold. "Clara?" Her head lifted sharply. Even in the dim light, he recognized her. The same chestnut hair, though tangled now. The same green eyes, though dimmed by exhaustion. She froze when she saw him, disbelief flickering across her face. "Ethan," she breathed, her voice trembling. He took a step closer. "What are you doing out here?" She clutched the blanket tighter around the children, 2 small shapes sleeping against her shoulders. "We're fine," she said quickly. "You shouldn't be here." "You texted me." She blinked, realization dawning. "I must have typed the wrong number. It wasn't meant for—" He cut her off gently. "Clara, they're freezing." Her breath clouded the air. "We don't need your pity." "Then call it help," he said evenly. "Just for tonight." When she didn't answer, he crouched down, careful not to startle the kids. "How old are they?" She hesitated, then whispered, 5. Ethan felt the number hit him like a punch to the chest. 6 years since she'd disappeared. 5-year-old twins. He didn't speak again. Instead, he slipped off his coat and wrapped it around them, his movements precise, gentle, almost reverent. "Get in the car," he said softly. "Ethan, I'm not asking." The drive was silent except for the hum of the heater. Clara sat rigid in the passenger seat, the twins asleep in the back, bundled in his coat. Every so often, Ethan glanced at her pale face, her bitten nails, the way she kept her hands clasped together as if afraid they'd shake. He wanted to ask 100 questions. Where had she gone? Why hadn't she called? Who had forced her into this? But something in her eyes stopped him. The same fierce pride he remembered, the one that used to make him fall for her even when they argued. When they pulled into his penthouse garage, Clara's breath caught. "Ethan, please don't." "Don't what?" he said quietly. "Let you freeze to death? Let your kids sleep on a park bench?" Her voice cracked. "They're my responsibility." He met her gaze. "And now they're mine too." The words hung between them, electric and heavy. Inside, the penthouse glowed with soft amber light. The twins stirred as Ethan carried them, one in each arm, up the stairs. Clara followed, silent, her eyes darting over the modern glass and steel, the polished perfection so foreign to the life she'd been living. He laid the twins on the guest bed, pulling a blanket over them. One of them, a boy, murmured something in his sleep. The girl reached for Clara's hand, even in her dreams. Ethan stood there for a long moment, watching them breathe. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. The dark hair, the faint dimple in the boy's chin, the same sharp nose he saw in the mirror every morning. When Clara joined him at the doorway, her voice was barely a whisper. "You can't look at them like that." "Like what?" "Like you know them." He turned to her. "Maybe I should." Her eyes hardened. "Don't start this. You don't know what I've been through." "Then tell me." Her lips trembled. "You think I wanted this? I left because I had to." "Because of who?" His voice rose slightly, then softened again. "Clara, what happened?" She shook her head. "You wouldn't believe me." Try me. She looked away, tears glinting in the light. Your family made sure I disappeared, Ethan. They said if I stayed, they'd destroy you. And when I found out I was pregnant, I couldn't risk it. Ethan froze. My family, she nodded. Your Uncle Richard. He paid off my employer, erased my records, threatened to ruin me. I thought you knew. I didn't, he said, voice hoarse. I would have found you. You couldn't have. He took a step closer, his hands curling into fists. You should have trusted me. I trusted you enough to protect you, she whispered. The words shattered something in him. He stared at her, torn between anger and guilt, and finally said, You're safe now. That's all that matters. She looked at him, disbelief softening into something fragile. Just for tonight? He hesitated, then nodded. For as long as it takes. And for the first time in 6 years, Clara let her guard fall. Just a little. Outside, the snow kept falling, silent and endless, while inside, two people who'd lost everything stood on the edge of rediscovering it again. Morning crept in slowly, washing the penthouse in muted light. The snow outside had turned the city into a watercolor of gray and white, quiet and distant. Inside, the hum of the heater filled the silence that lingered between Ethan and Clara. She sat at the edge of the guest bed, watching the twins still asleep, their faces peaceful against the white sheets. For the first time in months, they weren't shivering. For the first time in years, she wasn't running. But comfort was dangerous. Ethan appeared at the door holding 2 mugs of coffee. He was dressed in a dark sweater, hair still damp from a shower, but his eyes, sharp and restless, betrayed that he hadn't slept much. You should drink something, he said, offering her the mug. Clara hesitated before taking it. Their fingers brushed and the small contact made her flinch. He noticed. They look better, he said quietly, glancing at the twins. They will be once I find somewhere safe for us. Ethan frowned. You already have somewhere safe. This isn't it, she said firmly. You and I, your world. It's not for them. He crossed his arms. You don't get to decide that alone. Her gaze hardened. I've decided alone for 6 years. I think I'm capable. Ethan didn't argue. He could see the exhaustion in her face, the kind that no sleep could fix. But beneath it was something else. Fear. She was terrified of letting her guard down, even now. He took a slow breath. Then at least let me help you until you figure things out. Clara's eyes darted to the twins again. Help means strings, Ethan. And I can't afford strings. There aren't any, he said. Not this time. The words hung there, soft but heavy, like a promise neither of them dared believe. Later that morning, the twins woke. Emma sat up first, blinking at the ceiling in confusion. Mommy, this isn't our room. Clara brushed her daughter's hair back. It's just a place to rest, sweetheart. Liam, more curious than cautious, pointed toward the door. Who's that man? Ethan stepped in then, smiling gently. Good morning. Emma tilted her head. You have the same eyes as me. Clara froze. Ethan did too. He knelt beside the bed. Maybe that's why I like them so much, he said softly. You two hungry? Both nodded immediately, and Ethan smiled. Then pancakes it is. Clara opened her mouth to protest, but he was already gone, the faint sound of cupboards and a sizzling pan filling the air. She sighed, rubbing her temples. This quiet, this domestic ease, was dangerous. It felt like a life she wasn't allowed to have. The kitchen smelled of butter and sugar when she entered. Ethan stood by the stove, sleeves rolled up, flipping pancakes like it was second nature. For a man who could negotiate billion-dollar mergers, the sight of him handling a spatula felt absurdly normal. You don't have to do this, she said. He didn't look up. I want to. Emma and Liam sat at the table, legs swinging, eyes wide as he stacked plates in front of them. Clara stood by, unsure whether to intervene or let them have this rare moment. Thank you, Mr. Ethan, Emma said through a mouthful of syrup. He chuckled. Just Ethan is fine. Liam looked up. Do you have kids too? Ethan hesitated, the question hitting harder than expected. No, he said after a pause, but I always thought I might, someday. Clara turned away before he could see her expression. When breakfast was over, Ethan handed Clara a small envelope. You'll need this. She frowned, opening it to find a credit card and a set of keys. No, she said immediately. I'm not taking this. It's just an apartment across town, he said calmly. No cameras, no press. Somewhere you can breathe. She shook her head. You think money fixes everything. It doesn't, he said, stepping closer. But it can keep your kids warm. Let me do that much. Her jaw tightened. You don't owe us anything. I owe them everything, he said quietly, because I should have been there. Clara froze, her throat tightening. Don't say that. You didn't know. I didn't fight hard enough to find out, he countered. She stared at him, torn between gratitude and pain. Ethan, if you go looking for revenge, if you go after the people who did this, they'll ruin you. He smiled faintly. Then they should have finished the job 6 years ago. The rest of the day passed in uneasy truce. Ethan had a meeting scheduled downtown, though his thoughts were anywhere but business. Clara stayed behind, quietly packing the small things she still had left. An old phone, a few photographs, the twins' worn coats. Before leaving, Ethan paused at the doorway. There's food in the fridge, and the guest room's yours. I'll be back before dark. Clara nodded without looking up. You don't have to check on us. I know, he said, but I will. When he was gone, Clara sat down, staring at the skyline through the tall windows. The twins played quietly nearby, unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface of their reunion. She'd told herself she could endure anything. Cold, hunger, fear. But seeing Ethan again, seeing the man she'd loved, holding their children as if no time had passed, that was what truly broke her. For years, she had dreamed of a moment like this. Now that it was real, she wasn't sure she was strong enough to live it. Outside, the wind howled softly against the glass, like a warning or a memory that refused to fade. The elevator doors slid open with a chime, revealing Ethan stepping into the gleaming marble lobby of Coal Industries. Every head turned. It wasn't often that the CEO arrived before dawn, especially without his usual entourage of assistants. He walked fast, his face composed but cold, eyes fixed ahead. The same thought circled his mind again and again. They took 6 years from me. Clara's words from the night before wouldn't stop replaying. Your Uncle Richard made sure I disappeared. The sentence burned behind his ribs like a brand. He hadn't wanted to believe her, but the pain in her eyes wasn't something that could be faked. By the time he reached his office, his assistant Marissa was already there, holding a tablet and looking startled. You're early. Is something wrong? Get me everything we have on Richard's transactions from the last 7 years, Ethan said, his tone clipped. Personal and business. She blinked. That's going to take some digging. Should I ask compliance to? No one else, just you, he interrupted, and not a word to anyone. Marissa hesitated, sensing the weight behind his words. Then she nodded. Understood. When she left, Ethan sank into his chair, staring out at the snow-dusted skyline. Below, Boston moved on as if nothing had happened. But up here, his world had shifted entirely. For years, he'd accepted Clara's disappearance as abandonment. Now knowing the truth, he felt every bit the fool. Powerful in title, helpless where it had mattered most. He opened his phone. There was a message from Clara. The kids are fine. Please don't dig into this. It's over. He typed a reply, then deleted it. Over? It could never be over. Meanwhile, Clara sat cross-legged on the floor of Ethan's penthouse, helping Emma build a tower from wooden blocks. The children laughed every time it toppled, their giggles echoing through the quiet space. It was a sound she hadn't heard in weeks, real laughter, not the forced kind she used to hide fear. Still, her stomach was knotted. She'd woken up to find Ethan gone, his side of the counter stacked with folders and coffee cups, his absence pressing down on her like a warning. He was digging already. She could feel it. Mommy? Emma tugged her sleeve. Can we stay here forever? Clara's heart twisted. No, sweetheart, this isn't our home. But Mr. Ethan said we could stay, Liam protested. He made pancakes. Clara smiled faintly. Sometimes grown-ups say things they don't mean to last forever. The doorbell rang, startling her. She froze, then remembered Ethan's words. I'll be back before dark. It was barely noon. She opened the door cautiously. Marissa stood there, holding a tablet and a polite smile. Good afternoon. I'm Marissa Grant, Ethan's assistant. He asked me to bring these. Clara's pulse jumped. What is it? Health insurance forms for the twins. And, Marissa lowered her voice. He's at the office, looking into some old family records. He told me not to tell anyone, but I thought you should know. Clara's grip tightened on the doorframe. He shouldn't be doing that. Marissa hesitated, then said softly, He's not going to stop. When she left, Clara sank against the wall, trembling. The past she'd worked so hard to bury was about to resurface, and it would destroy him if he wasn't careful. By late afternoon, Ethan had what he needed. Bank transfers, legal filings, private contracts, patterns hidden in plain sight. Richard had rerouted funds from multiple subsidiaries into offshore accounts, disguised as asset protection. The earliest transactions dated back exactly 6 years ago. The same week Clara disappeared, Marissa stood by his desk, watching him scan document after document. This could blow up the board, she warned. Good, Ethan said flatly. She frowned. You realize if this goes public, you'll take hits too. The media will question why you didn't notice sooner. I'll handle it, he said. This isn't about the company anymore. Marissa hesitated. Then what is it about? He looked up, eyes like steel. Family. That evening he returned home. Clara was waiting by the window, the city lights painting gold across her face. You're digging, she said quietly as soon as he walked in. I had to. I told you not to, she said, her voice rising. Ethan, Richard doesn't play fair. He has people everywhere. Lawyers, press connections, board allies. If he finds out what you're doing, he'll bury you. Let him try. You don't understand, she snapped, stepping closer. He already ruined me. I can't watch him do the same to you. He met her glare without flinching. He took 6 years of my life, Clara. 6 years with you. 6 years with them. You really think I can just sit back and pretend it doesn't matter? Tears welled in her eyes. You think I didn't want to tell you? That I didn't dream every night of calling you? I had to choose between you and their safety. Then you should have trusted me to keep them safe. Her voice cracked. You weren't the one he threatened to destroy. Ethan took a step forward. Maybe not, but I'm the one who can end this. Clara's breath caught as he gently cupped her face. I'm not the man I was 6 years ago. You don't have to protect me anymore. For a heartbeat, she closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. Then she pulled away, shaking her head. You think you're protecting us, but you're just giving Richard another weapon. Don't you see? You can't fight him without losing everything he built for you. Then I'll build something else, he said simply. Her lips parted in disbelief. You'd risk everything. For me? His answer was quiet, steady. For the truth. Outside, the snow began to fall again, soft flakes drifting against the glass. Between them, the silence stretched, fragile but alive. Neither of them knew it yet, but Richard Cole had already found out, and the war for the truth had just begun. The night deepened into uneasy silence. Clara sat in the living room, the glow from the city filtering through the tall windows. The twins had fallen asleep in the guest room again, safe, warm, and blissfully unaware that everything around them was cracking like thin ice. She heard the door unlock and turned. Ethan stepped in, snow melting on his coat collar, eyes darker than before. He set his phone on the counter with a quiet finality. You saw him, Clara said immediately. I confronted him, Ethan replied. His voice was calm, too calm. He didn't deny it. Clara's breath caught. Ethan, no. He said he did it for me, Ethan continued, jaw tightening. To protect the family legacy. His words. He thought keeping me away from you would make me focus on the business. He even smiled when he said it. Clara's voice trembled. You shouldn't have gone to him. He's not just dangerous, he's vindictive. He'll come after you now. Ethan stepped closer. Let him. I'm not hiding anymore. You think this is a game? He ruined my life with a single phone call, Ethan. You have no idea how far he's willing to go. He looked at her then, a flicker of sorrow beneath his anger. I spent 6 years wishing I'd fought harder for you. I won't make that mistake again. She wanted to argue, but there was something in his tone, something that both terrified and comforted her. Hours earlier, that confrontation had been short but devastating. Ethan had found Richard in his private study, pouring a drink like it was any other evening. "You finally put the pieces together," Richard had said smoothly, not even looking surprised. "Took you long enough." "You paid her off, threatened her," Ethan said. "You made her disappear." Richard swirled his glass lazily. "She was a distraction, and she was pregnant. You would have thrown everything away for a girl who waited tables. I simply corrected your judgment." "You destroyed lives," Ethan snapped. Richard leaned forward, his smile fading. "I built yours. Don't forget that. Without me, you'd still be chasing dreams instead of running an empire. You owe me everything." "I owe you nothing," Ethan growled. "You took my family from me." "Family?" Richard's voice dripped with disdain. "Don't delude yourself. That woman used you. Those children aren't even—" Ethan slammed his fist onto the desk before he could finish. "Don't you dare finish that sentence." Richard only smirked. "You think you can fight me, boy? You'd better be ready to lose more than a company." The threat had been clear, but Ethan wasn't backing down. Now back in the penthouse, Clara watched him pace like a caged lion. "What are you planning to do?" she asked. "Expose him, publicly." She shook her head. "You'll lose everything. The board will turn on you. Then I'll rebuild from the ashes." Her voice softened. "And what about the twins? What happens when they lose the only stability they've ever had?" Ethan stopped pacing, his expression shifting. "You think they care about wealth or power? All they need is us." The word hung in the air. Us. It was dangerous. It felt like hope. Clara swallowed hard. "You still think we can fix what's broken?" He met her eyes. "I think we were never broken, just interrupted." For a moment, neither spoke. The city stretched beyond them, endless and glittering. Then Clara whispered, "You don't even know them, Ethan. They don't know you." "Then let me change that," he said simply. The next morning, Ethan made pancakes again, though his movements were slower, his mind elsewhere. Clara stood by the counter pretending to help while watching him. The twins bounded into the kitchen. Emma climbed onto a stool while Liam pointed at Ethan's tie. "You're going to work?" Ethan nodded. "For a little while. I'll be back soon." "Can we come next time?" Emma asked. "Mommy says you have a big building." Ethan smiled faintly. "You can visit soon, maybe even help me decorate my office." Clara's heart squeezed. The way he said it, like he already imagined them there, terrified her. When the door closed behind him, she sank into a chair. She knew Richard Cole wouldn't let this go, and Ethan, stubborn as he was walking straight into a trap. She pulled out her phone. Her fingers trembled as she typed a message she'd hoped she'd never have to send. "He knows, please, not the children." Within minutes, a reply appeared from an unknown number. "Too late. Tell Ethan to stop or everything burns." Clara's stomach dropped. She stared out the window, snowflakes spiraling past the glass, and realized she was out of time. If she stayed, Ethan would lose everything. If she left again, she'd break his heart and her children's. But this time, it wouldn't be to protect herself. It would be to save them all. The penthouse was silent when Ethan returned that night. Too silent. The moment he stepped through the door, he sensed something was wrong. The lights were still on, the twins' toys scattered across the rug, but the air felt empty. "Clara?" he called. No answer. He walked into the guest room. The beds were made. The suitcase she'd brought was gone. His pulse quickened. He moved through the apartment, calling again, louder this time. "Clara!" Still nothing. Then he saw the note on the counter, creased, smudged, hurriedly written. "Don't look for us. It's safer this way. Please believe me, this time." His throat tightened. For a moment, the world tilted. He gripped the edge of the counter, the paper trembling in his hand. Not again. He'd only just found her, just started to hope, and now she'd vanished into the cold once more. Except this time, he wasn't going to let her go. Across town, Clara sat in the back of a cab, holding Emma close while Liam dozed against her shoulder. The city lights streaked past, blurring through her tears. She'd done this before. Run, hidden, started over. But this time, the pain was different. Ethan had looked her in the eyes and promised to fight for them, and she left anyway. because she knew what Richard Cole was capable of. He'd sent a message that morning through one of his associates, a reminder of how quickly things could be taken away. She couldn't risk letting Ethan become collateral damage in his uncle's power games. "Where to, ma'am?" the driver asked. "South Station," she murmured. She didn't have a plan beyond that, only a train ticket, a little cash, and the crushing certainty that she was doing the right thing. She stroked Emma's hair as the girl stirred. "It's okay, baby. We're going somewhere warm." Emma yawned. "Will Mr. Ethan come too?" Clara froze. Her heart felt like it was splintering. "No, sweetheart," she whispered. "Not this time." Back at the penthouse, Ethan's phone buzzed with an incoming call. Marissa's name flashed on the screen. "Sir, you need to see this," she said, voice tight. "There's been movement on Richard's accounts. He's withdrawing assets, liquidating shares, like he's preparing for exposure." "Then he knows I have proof," Ethan muttered. "That's not all," she continued. "Someone accessed the building's security feed an hour ago. External login. Clara and the twins are gone." Ethan's hand clenched. "He took them." Marissa hesitated. "We don't know that." "I do." He was already moving, grabbing his coat. "Find out where Richard's people have been in the last 12 hours. I don't care how." "Ethan!" He hung up. There was no time for debate. The train station was crowded and loud, the scent of diesel and snow mixing in the air. Clara kept her hood up, her grip tight on the twins' hands. Every few seconds, she looked over her shoulder. When the loudspeaker announced the next departure to Albany, she exhaled shakily. Just one more hour. Then she could disappear again. "Tickets, please," the attendant said. Clara reached into her bag and froze. Her envelope of cash was gone. Her stomach dropped. She checked again, frantic, but it was nowhere. Someone must have taken it on the street, or maybe at the cab. "Ma'am?" the attendant repeated. Clara swallowed hard. I must have misplaced it. Please, I'll come back." She guided the twins aside, heart hammering. This couldn't be happening. Not now. "Mommy?" Liam asked softly. "Are we in trouble?" "No, baby," she said quickly, forcing a smile. "We're okay." But she wasn't okay. She was trapped. Outside the station, Ethan's car screeched to a halt. He stormed through the main entrance, scanning faces, his mind racing. Marissa had traced a taxi drop-off to this location less than 30 minutes ago. "Clara!" he shouted, his voice echoing over the noise. Heads turned, but not the one he needed. Then, near the far platform, he saw a small hand waving above the crowd, a flash of red mittens. "Emma!" He ran. Clara turned just as he reached her. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "Ethan, how did you—" He caught her wrist before she could bolt. "You didn't think I'd lose you again, did you?" "You don't understand," she said, breathless. "He's watching us. If he sees you—" "I don't care." "You should," she cried. "He's already threatened the children." Ethan's expression darkened. Then he made his last mistake. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed again. Marissa's voice crackled through the speaker. "Ethan, it's worse than we thought. Richard filed for emergency control of the company. He's claiming you're unstable, that you've been compromised." Ethan's jaw set. "He's moving fast." "He'll ruin you," Clara whispered. He turned to her, voice low and firm. "Then we'll ruin him first. You can't fight him and protect us." "Yes, I can," he said, his hand tightening around hers. "Because this time, you're not running alone." The loudspeaker announced the Albany train's final boarding. Clara hesitated, staring at the open doors that could take them far away from danger. And from him. Then Emma tugged her sleeve. "Mommy, I don't want to leave Mr. Ethan." Clara's breath hitched. Her eyes met Ethan's, and for the first time she didn't look away. "Okay," she whispered. "We'll stay." Ethan exhaled, relief flooding his face. He gathered the twins close, wrapping his coat around them as they huddled together on the crowded platform. Outside, snow began to fall again, thick, endless, and quiet. But this time, Clara wasn't running from the storm. She was standing beside it. The city was quiet that night, snow falling in slow, deliberate sheets that muted the world. Ethan's car cut through the dark streets, its headlights slicing through the storm. In the back seat, Clara held the twins close, her heart pounding too fast for the stillness around them. No one spoke, not even the children. The adrenaline from the train station still clung to the air like frost. Tension, fear, and something else. The unspoken knowledge that they had crossed a line. Ethan finally pulled into an underground garage beneath a tall building she didn't recognize. It was discreet, private, the kind of place only someone like him could access without question. Clara frowned. "Where are we?" "A safe house," Ethan said simply. "One of mine. No press, no cameras, no company security. Just us." "You mean one of Richard's?" she shot back. He looked at her, calm but unyielding. "Not anymore." When he unlocked the door, warmth and light spilled out. The apartment was minimalist. Dark wood, soft lighting, everything in quiet order. Ethan guided the twins to the bedroom, tucking them in with an ease that made Clara's chest ache. When he returned to the living room, she was standing by the window, arms crossed tightly. "You shouldn't have come for us." "You're welcome," he said dryly. She turned sharply. "I mean it. You think you're saving me, but all you've done is make yourself a target." "Then it's a good thing I'm used to that," he said. "Richard already made his move. I might as well make mine." Clara exhaled, pressing her forehead against the glass. "You don't understand what he's capable of." "Oh, I do," Ethan said quietly, stepping closer. "But he's underestimating what I'm capable of." The next morning, the twins woke to the smell of cinnamon and coffee. Ethan was already in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, flipping French toast. Emma giggled as he poured syrup in a smiley face. Clara stood in the doorway, caught between disbelief and something dangerously close to fondness. "You're going to spoil them," she said softly. He glanced over his shoulder. "Good, someone should." Liam grinned up at her. "Mr. Ethan says we can go to the zoo today." Clara blinked. "The what?" Ethan smirked. "I might have promised a field trip." "We can't just go out like everything's normal," she hissed, lowering her voice. "We're supposed to be laying low." "Clara, they're 5. They need normal. They need joy." Her mouth opened, then closed again. She looked at her children, their laughter, their wide eyes, and felt the argument dissolve on her tongue. Maybe just for one day she could let them breathe. The zoo was nearly empty in the cold, but to Emma and Liam, it was magic. They pressed their faces to the glass, marveling at the penguins and polar bears. Ethan stayed a few paces behind, hands in his coat pockets, eyes constantly scanning. Clara noticed. "You're still thinking about him," she said quietly. "I don't stop thinking about him," Ethan admitted. "Richard's already weaponized the press. He's spinning stories about me being unfit to lead. Marissa says a board vote is coming." "Then go handle it," Clara said. "You can't protect us and save your company at the same time." He turned to her, his expression steady. "I'm not choosing one over the other." Her voice trembled. "If you lose your company, then I lose it," he cut in. "I can build another. But I can't rebuild what I lost with you." The words caught her off guard, slicing clean through her defenses. "Ethan," she began, but he stepped closer. "I mean it," he said, his voice low. "You think you left to save me, but you destroyed me instead. And the worst part is, I don't even blame you." Clara's eyes burned. "You should." "I can't." She turned away, tears threatening. "We were never supposed to end up here." He smiled faintly. "No, we were supposed to end up together." Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. Marissa's name flashed across the screen. "Talk to me," he said, answering. "Richard's lawyers just filed an injunction," she said breathlessly. "They froze all your accounts, and they're calling an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. He's trying to have you removed as CEO." Ethan's face hardened. "Then tomorrow, I fight." "And Clara?" Marissa asked quietly. "What if they drag her into it?" His eyes flicked to Clara, standing near the children, laughing softly now, pretending everything was fine. "They won't touch her," he said. "Not while I'm breathing." That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She stood by the balcony, wrapped in one of Ethan's coats, watching the snow fall over the city. She thought of all the nights she'd spent alone, terrified, broke, hiding from shadows that never quite went away. And now, after everything, here she was again. Only this time, the shadows had names. She heard the door behind her open softly. Ethan stepped out, joining her without a word. For a while, they just stood there. Tomorrow's going to be bad, isn't it? She said finally. Probably, he admitted. But I've been through worse. She looked up at him. You shouldn't have to be. He smiled faintly. You make it sound like I had a choice. Maybe you didn't, she whispered. But you still chose me. He met her eyes. Always. For a heartbeat, the space between them seemed to vanish. The city, the snow, the danger, all of it faded into a fragile stillness. Then the sound of a phone buzzing shattered it. Ethan glanced at the screen. His expression went cold. What is it? Clara asked. He turned the phone toward her. It was a message, unmarked, anonymous, the same number that had threatened her before. You should have stayed away. Tomorrow ends it all. The wind outside howled against the glass, and both of them knew. It wasn't just a threat, it was a promise. The morning broke gray and bitterly cold. Snow drifted lazily past the tall glass windows of the safe house, but inside tension burned hotter than coffee on the stove. Ethan stood at the counter in a tailored suit, tie loose, phone pressed to his ear as Marissa briefed him. They've called for a board meeting at 11, she said. Richard's already assembled his faction. He's accusing you of financial misconduct, using company funds for personal cover-ups. Ethan exhaled sharply. He's manufacturing evidence. Yes, and he's good at it, Marissa said grimly. If you walk into that meeting without proof, they'll vote you out. I have proof, Ethan replied, and by the end of today, everyone will see what he's done. When he hung up, he found Clara watching him from the doorway, still in her robe, her hair falling loose around her shoulders. You're really going to face him, she said quietly. I don't have a choice, he replied, slipping his watch on. If I let him win, it doesn't stop here. He'll come for you next. Clara's voice trembled. He already has. He crossed the room and took her hand. Then let me end it. She searched his face, and for a fleeting moment, her expression softened. Just come back to us, she whispered. He smiled faintly. I will, I promise. But as he left, Clara felt that same hollow ache she'd carried for years, the one that whispered promises had a way of breaking. The boardroom at Cole Industries was a cathedral of glass and steel, high above the city. The long mahogany table gleamed under the cold light. Seated around it were 12 board members, powerful, polished, and waiting for blood. Richard Cole sat at the head of the table, his smile composed and serpentine. Ah, Ethan, he said as his nephew entered. Good of you to join us. I wasn't sure you'd show. Ethan set a folder on the table, his expression unreadable. You called this meeting, Uncle. Let's get it over with. Richard leaned back in his chair. As you wish. I've submitted a motion of removal. Evidence suggests you've misused company assets for personal gain, housing certain individuals, funding untraceable accounts, hiding liabilities that could endanger shareholders. A murmur spread through the room. Ethan didn't flinch. You mean Clara and my children? Richard's smile never faltered. I mean the woman who's been draining your judgment for years. Let's not dress it up as romance. Ethan's jaw tightened. You fabricated these accusations. Strong words, Richard said smoothly. Do you have proof? Ethan opened his folder. I do. He began laying out documents, transfer records, offshore accounts, encrypted messages, each linked directly to Richard's name. Marissa's research gathered over sleepless nights formed an airtight chain. The room fell silent as the board members scanned the evidence. Richard's smirk faltered for the first time. This is circumstantial, he snapped. Anyone could have. Ethan slammed a USB drive onto the table. That's a full audit trail from the firm you hired to erase your digital footprint. Password protected, time-stamped, and verified by an external auditor. You use company money to silence witnesses and bury an illegal acquisition. A few of the board members exchanged uneasy glances. You betrayed this company, Ethan said coldly. You betrayed me. Richard's face twisted. You think you're untouchable because you're my blood? You've always been a naive little fool, chasing sentiment while I built an empire. That woman ruined you once. Now she'll ruin you again. Ethan leaned forward, voice low and dangerous. You don't get to say her name. For a long moment, the room held its breath. Then one of the board members, a quiet silver-haired woman named Diane, spoke. I move that the audit be reviewed immediately. Until then, all of Richard's powers are suspended. The motion passed in seconds. Richard rose from his seat, fury etched across his face. You think this is over? He hissed. Ethan met his glare evenly. No, I think it's finally beginning. Back at the safe house, Clara tried to distract herself with the twins. They colored on the floor, humming to themselves, blissfully unaware of the chaos beyond their walls. But her hands trembled too much to hold the crayons steady. The phone buzzed on the counter. She rushed to grab it, but the number was unfamiliar. Her blood ran cold. We warned you, he didn't listen. Her pulse quickened. No, she whispered, dialing Ethan immediately. The line rang twice, then went dead. She tried again. Nothing. Panic surged through her. She turned toward the twins, her voice unsteady. Sweethearts, get your coats. Why, Mommy? Emma asked. We're going to find Mr. Ethan, she said, forcing calm. Now. Meanwhile, Ethan exited the boardroom, adrenaline still burning through his veins. The city lights below shimmered through the glass elevators. He had won, for now. But the silence in his pocket unnerved him. Clara hadn't answered his texts all morning. When the elevator doors opened, he stepped into the parking level and froze. His car door was ajar. A shadow moved near the concrete pillar. Uncle, Ethan said sharply. Richard stepped forward, a gun glinting in his hand. You took everything from me. Ethan's pulse quickened, but his voice remained calm. You did that yourself. Richard's eyes blazed. You always thought you were better, always thought you could outsmart me, but she's the one who ruined us both. You don't have to do this, Ethan said evenly, raising a hand. Oh, I do, Richard snarled. If I can't have the company, I'll have the satisfaction of watching you lose everything else. He pulled the trigger. The sound exploded through the parking level. Ethan stumbled back, breath leaving his chest in a ragged gasp. Pain flared across his shoulder as he collapsed behind the car, blood spreading across his sleeve. Richard stood there shaking before disappearing into the shadows. Ethan pressed a hand to the wound, vision blurring. His phone lay cracked beside him. The last thing he saw before everything went dark was Clara's name flashing on the screen. Snow fell harder that evening, cloaking the city in silence while chaos brewed beneath its surface. Sirens wailed in the distance, their echoes distorted by the storm. Clara gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white. The twins were in the back seat, half asleep beneath blankets, unaware of their mother's trembling. Every red light felt like a lifetime. She kept checking her phone. Still no answer. Ethan's last message was from hours ago. It's handled. I'll be home soon. But something in her gut screamed otherwise. When she turned into the parking garage of Cole Industries, the guard barely looked up. Ma'am, the building's closed. Clara leaned out of the window, desperation in her eyes. Please, I'm looking for Ethan Cole. He hasn't answered my calls. The guard frowned. He left a while ago, maybe an hour. Her stomach dropped. Left where? Garage level 3. Without another word, she drove down the ramp, the sound of tires echoing through the cold concrete chamber. Then she saw it, the glint of shattered glass near a black luxury car. Her breath hitched. Stay here, she told the twins, voice shaking. Mommy. Emma's voice was small. Don't move, okay? I'll be right back. Clara stepped out, her boots crunching over broken glass. Her eyes scanned the dimly lit garage. And then she saw him. Ethan crumpled behind the car, one hand pressed to his shoulder. Blood streaked across his suit. Oh my God! She ran to him, falling to her knees. Ethan, can you hear me? His eyelids fluttered, voice hoarse. You shouldn't be here. She pressed her hands over the wound, panic flooding her chest. You've lost so much blood. He gave a faint, pained smile. Guess I'm not bulletproof after all. Don't you dare joke right now, she snapped, tears spilling down her cheeks. Stay with me. I'll call an ambulance. His hand closed over hers weakly. No hospital. Richard's people. They'll find us. You're bleeding out, Ethan. Clara, he whispered, gripping her fingers. Listen, in my jacket pocket, USB. Give it to Marissa. It's everything, proof of what he did. She shook her head, sobbing. Forget the company. I'm not losing you again. He tried to laugh, but it came out as a cough. You always say that like it's an option. Clara pressed harder on the wound, blood seeping through her palms. Just hold on, please. 20 minutes later, the safe house door burst open. Clara stumbled in, half carrying Ethan while the twins followed behind, wide-eyed and silent. She laid him on the couch, her hands trembling as she searched the drawers for anything. Towels, alcohol, a first aid kit. She tore his shirt open, cleaning the wound as best she could. Clara, his voice was barely a whisper. Don't talk. You're scaring them. She turned and sure enough, the twins stood near the door, clinging to each other. Clara forced a shaky breath. Emma, Liam, it's okay. Mommy's just helping. Ethan reached out weakly, motioning for them. Come here, you two. They hesitated, then shuffled closer. Ethan smiled faintly. Brave kids, just like your mom. Liam frowned. Are you gonna die? Clara froze, but Ethan shook his head slowly. Not tonight, buddy. She blinked back tears, focusing on his wound again. You need stitches, a hospital, something. No hospital, he murmured again. But there's a clinic, off Beacon Street, private. I can't move you again. You'll bleed more. I trust you, he whispered. Always have. Her throat tightened. You shouldn't. I should have. 6 years ago. The silence that followed was thick with everything they hadn't said. The lost years, the pain, the love that hadn't died. Then his eyes fluttered again and panic surged. Ethan, stay with me, he groaned, forcing his gaze up to meet hers. Clara, if I don't make it, don't, she interrupted, her voice breaking. Don't even say it. Promise me, he whispered. You'll protect them. You'll live. I can't live without you, she cried. You already did. The words cut through her like ice. She pressed her forehead to his, whispering, Then don't make me do it again. An hour later, headlights swept across the room. The sound of tires crunching snow echoed from outside. Clara stiffened. She moved to the window and saw a black car idling at the edge of the drive. A man stepped out, his silhouette unmistakable. Richard Cole. Her pulse spiked. She turned to Ethan, whose eyes were half open. He found us. Ethan's expression darkened despite the pain. Get the twins. Go through the back. I'm not leaving you. You have to. If he sees you, he'll use you against me again. I won't abandon you. He grabbed her wrist, blood smearing across her skin. Clara, please. For them. Tears streamed down her face. I can't go, he rasped. A knock pounded against the door, loud and deliberate. Open up, Ethan, Richard's voice called, cool and venomous. We need to finish our family conversation. Clara's breath hitched. She took one last look at Ethan, pale, bleeding, but defiant, and whispered, Don't you dare die on me. He managed a faint smile. Wouldn't dream of it. Then she grabbed the twins and slipped out the back, the cold air biting at her face as she disappeared into the storm. Inside, Ethan pushed himself up, every muscle screaming. He reached for the nearest object, a fire poker from the stand by the hearth. His hand trembled as he stood, blood dripping onto the floor. Another knock. Ethan, last chance. He wiped the blood from his mouth, voice hoarse but steady. Then I guess I'll make it count. As the door creaked open, the storm howled louder, swallowing the city's silence. And somewhere beyond the snow, Clara's car vanished into the night, unaware that this fight was only beginning. The door splintered open with a single violent kick. Ethan staggered backward, blood soaking through the torn fabric of his shirt, his hand still clutching the iron poker. The faint glow from the fireplace painted Richard's face in flickering orange. Sharp, cruel, composed. Still standing, Richard drawled, stepping inside. I'll give you that. Ethan forced himself upright. You shot me, and you still came back to finish the job? Richard smiled. Oh, Ethan, you always were too sentimental to see the bigger picture. You think this is about revenge? It's about control. He lifted the gun again, the barrel catching the light. You took my company, my name, my reputation, all for that waitress and her little bastards? Don't, Ethan growled, his voice low and deadly. Richard tilted his head. Touchy, aren't we? Ethan lunged before he could think. The poker clanged against the gun, sending it skidding across the floor. They collided hard, years of resentment bursting into violence. Richard slammed Ethan into the table. Ethan countered with a desperate shove. The pain in his shoulder screamed, but he didn't stop. "You destroyed her life," Ethan spat, driving his forearm into Richard's throat. "You thought you could decide who I loved." "She used you," Richard roared, twisting free. "She saw a name, a fortune, and a fool." Ethan's fist connected with his uncle's jaw. "You don't get to talk about her." They crashed into the fireplace, embers scattering like sparks of fury. Richard's hand found the poker. Ethan barely dodged the swing that followed. The metal whistled past his ear, striking the wall with a hollow thud. "I built this empire," Richard snarled. "Everything you have exists because of me." Ethan wiped the blood from his mouth. "Then maybe it's time I rebuild it without you." He swung again, knocking the poker free from Richard's hand. Both men froze, breathing hard, eyes locked in hatred and exhaustion. Richard smirked, voice dripping with venom. "You think she'll ever forgive you for this mess? You brought her right back into danger." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I'll protect her. Just like you did 6 years ago?" That hit deep, too deep. Ethan hesitated, and Richard saw his opening. He tackled him to the ground, both of them crashing into the coffee table. The gun slid out from beneath the couch, just inches away. They both reached for it. The gun went off. The explosion of sound was deafening. For a heartbeat, neither moved. Then Richard's eyes widened, confusion flickering across his face. He looked down, a dark stain spreading across his chest. Ethan froze, the gun still trembling in his hand. Richard's lips twisted into a grim smile. "You finally did it." Ethan's breath came in ragged gasps. "You left me no choice." Richard staggered back, collapsing into the chair beside the hearth. His voice was fading. "You'll lose everything. You'll see." His eyes fluttered once, and then he was still. Ethan sank to his knees, the gun slipping from his fingers. The weight of it all, blood, family, love, loss, crashed over him like a wave. Outside, sirens began to wail in the distance. Someone had heard the shots. He barely heard the front door slam open until Clara's voice cut through the haze. "Ethan!" He looked up, dazed. Clara ran to him, the twins right behind her. Her eyes widened at the sight. Blood on his hands, Richard slumped lifeless in the chair. "Oh my God," she whispered. "What did you do?" "He came here to kill me," Ethan said quietly. "It was him or us." Clara's knees buckled. She sank beside him, gripping his face. "You're bleeding again. We need to go. Now." "It's over," he murmured. "He's gone." "No, Ethan," she said firmly, her voice trembling. "It's not over. The police are coming. They won't care who fired first." He stared at her, realizing she was right. She turned to the twins, her tone calm but urgent. "Emma, Liam, go wait in the car, okay? Don't look back." When they were gone, Clara met Ethan's eyes. "We have to leave. You can't go to prison for this." He shook his head. "Running again won't fix anything." "It'll keep you alive," she said fiercely. "And that's all that matters." He hesitated, torn between logic and exhaustion. "Clara," she pressed her forehead to his. "You fought to save us. Let me fight to save you." A sharp knock rattled the door. A voice shouted, "Boston PD, drop your weapon and come out." Ethan froze. Clara grabbed his arm. "We go now." She pulled him toward the back exit, the snowstorm outside swallowing the sound of approaching boots. Every step felt heavier than the last, his blood leaving a trail across the white marble. They reached the alley behind the house just as blue lights flashed at the front. Clara helped him into the car, her hands shaking as she started the engine. Ethan turned to her, his voice barely above a whisper. "You should have left me." Her eyes burned with tears. "Not this time." She hit the gas, the tires spinning before catching traction. The car surged forward into the storm, disappearing into the endless white. Behind them, the police surrounded the safe house, their flashlights cutting through the night. One officer stepped inside, his radio crackling. Multiple signs of struggle. One fatality confirmed. Male, mid-60s. He paused, glancing at the blood trail leading toward the back door. They're gone, he said quietly into the mic. Whoever was here, they're gone. And somewhere on the dark, snow-choked highway, Ethan slumped against the seat, fading in and out of consciousness, while Clara drove faster than she ever had in her life, chasing the faintest chance that tomorrow might still hold forgiveness. Snow blanketed the highway like a white shroud as Clara's car raced through the night. The wipers scraped back and forth, struggling to keep up. Beside her, Ethan was slumped against the passenger seat, pale and fading fast, his blood soaking through the towel she had pressed against his shoulder. "Stay with me," she whispered, voice trembling. "Please, Ethan, stay with me." His eyes fluttered open. "You drive like hell." A choked laugh escaped her throat. "You're bleeding out and still finding jokes." "Pain makes me funny," he murmured weakly. "Don't talk," she said, tightening her grip on the steering wheel. "We're almost there." The private clinic loomed ahead. Beacon Street, just like he'd said. A single dim light glowed in the storm. She pulled up to the back entrance and leaned on the horn. Moments later, a man in scrubs ran out, his breath fogging in the cold. "Are you Clara?" he shouted over the wind. "Yes," she gasped. "He's been shot. He's losing too much blood." The doctor motioned her inside. "Get him in, quickly." She and the doctor half-carried Ethan down the narrow hall, the smell of antiseptic sharp in the air. When they laid him on the gurney, his hand clutched hers with surprising strength. "Don't go," he whispered. "I'm right here," she said, brushing the hair from his forehead. "I'm not leaving you." The doctor's voice broke through the haze. "Ma'am, we need space. Please." She hesitated, then nodded and stepped back. The doors swung shut, leaving her alone in the sterile hallway, the only sound the rhythmic beeping from behind the glass. Her legs gave out. She sank onto a chair, pressing trembling fingers to her lips. 6 years of running, 6 years of fear, 6 years of believing he was better off without her. And now here they were, fighting for their lives, their children asleep in the car outside, and a trail of blood behind them. She didn't know how much longer she sat there before the doors opened again. The doctor stepped out, wiping his hands. "He's stable," he said quietly. "The bullet missed any vital organs. He's lucky." Clara's knees went weak with relief. "Can I see him?" He nodded, but only for a few minutes. Ethan was awake when she entered, pale, exhausted, but alive. His eyes met hers and something unspoken passed between them, something that didn't need words. "You never listen," she whispered, smiling through tears. He managed a faint grin. "You never stop saving me." She sat beside him, taking his hand. "You're not allowed to die, Ethan Cole. Do you hear me?" He squeezed her fingers weakly. "Guess I'll have to stick around then." For a long time, neither spoke. The storm outside had quieted, the world muted to soft flakes and distant sirens. Finally, she said, "The police will come. They'll find us eventually." "I'll tell them the truth," he said. "Everything. Richard attacked me. The evidence will clear us." She looked away. "And if it doesn't, then I'll take the fall," he said simply. "You and the twins walk free." Her eyes snapped to his. "Don't you dare!" "Clara!" "No," she said fiercely. "You've sacrificed enough. We do this together, or not at all." He smiled faintly, the fight in her igniting something warm in his chest. "Still stubborn. Still in love," she whispered. The words hung in the air, fragile and raw. Ethan reached for her hand again, his voice low. "Then let's stop running from it." She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. "Promise me this time it's real." He nodded. It always was. By dawn, the snow had stopped. The city was a quiet sprawl of white and gray. Clara stood by the clinic window, watching the faint light break through the clouds. Behind her, Ethan slept peacefully, the steady rhythm of his breathing matching the soft hum of the heater. She hadn't slept. She couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Richard's face, the flash of the gun, the blood, the fear. But then she'd look back at Ethan and remember why she'd come back. A soft knock broke the silence. Marissa stepped inside, her expression tired but kind. "He's safe for now," she said. "I've already spoken to the authorities. They're calling it self-defense." Clara's shoulders sagged. Thank God. Marissa hesitated. There's one more thing. The board voted. With Richard gone, they reinstated Ethan, and they want him back when he's ready. Clara let out a shaky laugh. He won't believe that. Marissa smiled faintly. Tell him anyway. She paused at the door. You did the right thing, Clara. Both of you did. When she was gone, Clara turned back to Ethan. The rising sun caught his face, softening the harsh lines, reminding her of the man she had fallen in love with, the one who used to chase her laughter instead of board meetings. She reached out and brushed his hand gently. His eyes fluttered open. Hey, she said softly, the world's still turning. Is it? He murmured, voice rough. Then we're still alive. She smiled. You've got your company back, your life, the truth. He looked at her, something unreadable flickering behind his tired eyes. None of that matters without you. Clara blinked back tears. Then maybe we start over. He nodded slowly. No more running? No more running, she promised. Outside, the snow began to melt, dripping from the rooftops like tiny glass tears. For the first time in years, the cold didn't seem so endless. Ethan reached for her hand again, his grip stronger now. Clara, he said quietly, bring the twins. Let's go home. She smiled through her tears. You don't even have one anymore. He squeezed her hand. Then we'll build one. She leaned down and kissed his forehead, her voice breaking into a whisper. Together. And as the morning light poured through the window, washing over them both, the storm that had haunted their lives finally broke, leaving behind only silence, warmth, and the fragile beginning of something whole again.